Welcome back, Bubble Butts. Today we're making some charcoal soap that I think is pretty good to use for a facial soap. It's not much difference, but the charcoal does have properties that some people say will clear up your skin, so a lot of people like to use it as a facial soap. And for this one, I'm keeping it really, really simple. I actually only use that activated charcoal to color the soap. I'm making them in my little round molds here, little pebble molds, because honestly, if you're going to use it for your face, you definitely want something that'll fit in the palm of your hand. So I went ahead and switched it up. Last time I made bars. And just adding my lye water solution that is literally just sodium hydroxide, water, and a little bit of salt to help me unmold these a little bit easier. They do come out really nice and cleanly. You'll get to see that later, and I love it. I love using these little pebble molds. They make it so much fun. Although I do love cutting soap, but there's a surprise. But when you're doing something simple, the little round guys are fun. Like I've done dish soap and I've done shampoo bars, and now I'm doing these. So, I can get this to trace if I wanted to, but I'm just going to get it to emulsion and then put the charcoal in because I want to make sure that I get that pretty fluid into the mold. That way I don't have any weird air pockets or anything. That's really the only concern that I have. But I'm putting in about a tablespoon of the activated charcoal. It a little goes a long way in terms of colorant, but if I really wanted to make sure that I had enough in there for to get the properties of the charcoal in there. And you can see, I probably should have done that beforehand, which I knew, and I realized it as it started billowing up at me. It's a good idea if you're going to use activated charcoal. It's really, really fine, so you can see it billowing up there. To wear like a mask or something so you're not inhaling all of that. I was standing pretty far back, so I don't think I inhaled any. But you just want to be really, really careful. So don't do what I I feel like I'm always saying, don't do as I do as I say. Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, that sounds right. Um, but it's so messy. You can see how that black just gets everywhere. And it can stain your tools and things. This bowl actually came out pretty good, but I've seen where it can stain. The other thing about charcoal soap is it has kind of a gray lather to it. If you've never used it before, that might alarm you, but it doesn't stain. It does wash out, and it does. Well, I know for a fact. I don't know about once it's past saponification, but I do know activated charcoal is used all the time to eliminate odor and things like that. So if you do get it on your washcloth or your towel or whatever, it'll just be a little extra deodorizing. We keep pouches with activated charcoal in our fridge and freezer rather than constantly replacing baking soda to keep odors down. And you can literally refresh it by putting it in the sun. It's really, really cool. So yeah, I didn't need to get this too far. I just needed to make sure that it reached emulsion, which it did, and then get this poured into the mold. It's so simple. I love doing a single color or a simple soap, even though this one's a little messy. I also decided at the last minute that I wanted this to have a mint smell because that's so refreshing, but I didn't want to use like a peppermint like essential oil because I feel like on your face, I don't know, that could be kind of irritating on the face. I don't know, peppermint tends to give me the tinglies, and I don't know if that everyone would like that. So I did decide to go ahead and use a fragrance oil, and for this I'm using actually Brambleberry's candy cane, so it's a little bit sweeter than straight up peppermint. And the reason why I'm not showing that to you yet is because I was smelling it to make sure it's what I wanted to do. But it is candy cane from Brambleberry, which you can sort of see. Their labels are hard to get to show up on camera because they're so white, and then they tend to fade really fast because they use a thermal printer. So I probably should write on that one. But I bought that one when it went on sale after Christmas, and then I'm like, great, I'll use it for next Christmas. But I thought, there I go smelling it. But God, Carrie, your hair needs coloring. I did it. I did color my hair, and it is tied back, so I'm not getting like hair and anything. But that peppermint really came out really nice. So it's just lightly scented to kind of give you the soothing benefits of smelling peppermint. It's a little more aromatherapy than anything designed to help the skin. It's still just soap. It gets you clean. But I make no claims about other properties. However, people do use peppermint for aromatherapy and activated charcoal for clarifying the skin and deodorizing things. But I make no claims about what it does past the saponification stage. And again, I love pouring these. I'll just let you watch while I pour. Can you hear my cat in the background? That's Dave, and he doesn't like closed doors. And I'm currently in my studio where I make the soap and record my videos and do my voiceover, and he does not like that I am behind a closed door. He is never allowed in this room. None of my cats are. And he hates it. So sometimes they sit outside the door and cry, like, "Why have you abandoned me?" Cats are so dramatic. So this is my standard batch size of soap. It just kind of comes out to almost exactly 16 of these, which is really handy. This batch size fits pretty much all of my molds exactly. I have a couple smaller loaf size ones where it does this and then a batch of small soaps, but I don't use those very often. It's one like I use for my honey soap. That one's a little bit smaller than this batch size. You can see I got a few little bubbles in there, but honestly, by the time I was done, they really kind of settled and I didn't have any real I don't have any visible bubbles. So you can hear another cat now. That's Peggy. She's not happy about closed doors either. They probably also want treats. Y'all know what I'm saying if you have cats, or even dogs. Dogs like to, don't like to be separated from their owners either. So I have a little bit left in here, and I'm going to pour some of this on top because I have a few of them that aren't full all the way to the top. And then I take the excess and I actually put that in these little tiny cat molds that I have. And I can't remember if I caught that on camera. I think I did. But just to get that little bit of excess. And those will go, usually I send little kitty cats out. They're little tiny, seated cats. I'll send those out with, when anyone orders my kitty soaps from that line, they'll get a little cat soap as a sample. Because I'm like, I know you love cats. So here's a sample with a cat. So if you'd like to try this charcoal soap and don't want to commit to a whole bar, if you buy a kitty soap, I can send you one. So yeah, and then I realized that it was just creating bumps on top. It was starting to set up, so I was like, screw this, I'm going to get out the little mold and put that in there. There it is, that little guy. Unless you have really, really fluid soap, this little mold, which you can barely see because I pulled it too far back, it's really hard to pour into because the tails on them will break off because they're really, really skinny. So I don't use it very often because I don't often have a lot of fluid batter left. Usually when I have batter left over, it's starting to thicken up. It's usually at a medium to thick trace. And so I don't use it very much. But when I do, they just come out so cute. So maybe I'll throw a picture in when I photograph. When I show you the photograph of the finished soap, I'll throw a picture of the kitties in too. But yeah, there I am off screen. And then, I just take the spatula and like swipe it across to make sure it gets down in there. And it really did. It came out to like exactly enough batter to do this. So I was really happy with it. Can't be upset. Oh, Peggy dear, can you hear her? She's so upset. We got her last year in April, and she was severely injured. She was only about 2 weeks old. And she cried like this, only more high-pitched because she was a baby, for 3 days straight. And her poor little leg was an open wound from what you would consider like a shoulder all the way to her paw. And we weren't sure she was going to make it. She was just supposed to be a foster, and we kind of just fell in love with her. Her personality is just so unique. She's just precious. And when she was about 3 or 4 weeks old, her paw had been so severely injured. It had gotten necrotic, and it fell off while it was feeding her. Like her paw just kind of detached from it. It's so disgusting. I'm not going to get into detail. But I say to my husband, her paw fell off. He's like, what? And it proceeded to be, it's funny now, it wasn't at the time, but it proceeded to be that kind of a, who's on first kind of moment with the emergency vet. And she could have cared less. She was just hungry. She did not even care. She bandaged it up. It is healed up completely. She's minus one paw. She has 3 full legs, 1 leg with a paw, without a paw, and it has 1 tiny little toe bean on it. I'll see if I can find a picture of that too. 1 little itty bitty toe bean. And sometimes she uses it, but most of the time she doesn't. But she runs, she plays, she jumps. The only thing she can't do is scratch you with that paw, and the claws on her other front paw are very sharp. And I don't have the heart to trim them because then she wouldn't be able to get around as well. So that's the story of Peggy. But she also doesn't like to be separated from us. She's a little booger. She's still tiny, but she's starting to get a belly because she, doesn't run around like she did when she was a real tiny kitten. But she's just been an absolute just came at the right time, just the sweetest cat. We did not need a 10th cat, but now we have 10. So there you go. Well, there's my soap. I'm going to go ahead and show you the unmolding and then the photography of it. And if you'd like to order a charcoal soap, you can visit thegildedbubble.com. And of course, you can tell by the lighter color that these are saponified. They've got a tiniest bit of soda ash you can see on the little kittens there, but there she is. Look at her. So yeah, those are super cute. But it's a little candy mold, so it's like meant for that, what do you call it? The melting chocolates or whatever, the little candy melts. Candy melts, that's the word I was looking for. So, it's not really designed to be putting chunky soap into or thick soap. But yeah, that's how those come out, looking like little gray pebbles. I might steam that soda ash off, but it doesn't hurt anything. It's kind of just an aesthetic. You can also see where I burned myself with my hair straightener on my thumb there. I have to say, I talk all the time about how lye burns are bad. They can be really bad, but that burn from my hair straightener is worse than any lye burn I've ever had. And then I scratched it, or bumped it on something when it was starting to heal, and I ripped it open, so now I had to put a Band-Aid back on it. So that was fun. Just a disaster over here. But yeah, I'll go ahead and let these cure up. They'll need to cure for about 4 to 6 weeks, just like a bar of soap, and then they'll be ready for sale. I do still currently have a couple other bars of charcoal soap too. They're a little bit bigger, but those are in the shop. And they are a simple coconut oil soap with no fragrance. So if you want something really simple, it's a great little guy. Just picking up my scraps. But yeah, made 16 of these little round. They're just under 3 ounces when it's all said and done. And like I said, they're just a really great size. I use them for dish soap, for shampoo bars. They're about 2.5 inches in diameter. All right, so let's look at some of that fancy photography, shall we? As always, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up or leave a comment. I'd love to know what you think of charcoal soap in general, not just mine, but the idea of using a charcoal soap as a facial soap. And you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I'm at The Gilded Bubble on all of those platforms. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.